on anything this evening, but we'll have a discussion on the topics that we have. And the first order of business of the day is Main Street Live stuff. So, just to bring you guys all up to speed, we did have a subcommittee meeting at my office. Mark and Beth couldn't make it, but Kevin and John were there. And we kind of went through everything of what we're looking to. Brian, sorry. Brian.
That's pretty good.
And Kevin were there,
You're
sorry.
there in spirit.
We're there. So we kind of divvied up some of the responsibilities on that, which is going to help us out a lot with the, between myself and Mark and Beth. We did lose Ariel, or more or less the rec department, and able to help us out, which she's always been doing the vending trucks, which is a vital part and a very important part of the thing. But John stepped up and has taken that. We had a conversation that, just to kind of bring everything up to speed, is that last year we had 5 trucks, and how trucks are very hard to get and they fall out in between. We had the trucks fall out, both of them claimed last year it was due to lack of help. So hopefully the help situation will be a little bit better this year, and that they'll be able to get the help that they need to do the event. But in the meantime, we kind of felt we had a good crowd, like I'm going to say estimate between throughout the night coming, there was probably between 35 to 4,500 people, probably less, maybe 35 to 4,000 would be accurate. And we did have limited trucks we didn't have a gauntlet of trucks with a variety of food and stuff like that. We were definitely short ice cream truck and dessert stuff, and we were short a little bit on the variety of food. So if we can get as many trucks as we can with the variety of food, and I think I sent you an email, John, earlier, that the Board of Health usually comes around 4 o'clock to inspect. So we usually like to get the trucks in there between 3:15 and 3:45, get them settled in. I'm usually down there directing them, getting it set up, so that they'll be set up and ready to go, so the Board of Health can come and do their inspections anytime between 4 and 4:45, around in that time frame. The event kind of opens at 5 o'clock, and people will start coming in at that point in time.
What time do the trucks leave usually?
Well, what's been going on, because it's been so busy, the trucks have been leaving when they run out of food. which can be anywhere from 7 to 9 or 10. I'm going to say we'd like them to stay to maybe 9 or 10. I mean, they can stay longer if they're selling and they got their food and everything. But I think the dining portion of it, if it was over at 9, would be adequate. If they wanted to stay to 10, would be great. But at that point in time, a lot of that after 9 o'clock is just kind of the music going on, although the music's going on the whole time. So that might be a little bit different. So, and then in the meeting, Brian has jumped in, and along with Kevin, and doing some sponsorship, which is one of the things that we really need, is to find sponsors to sponsor the program. Last year, we didn't make any money with the event because of we weren't able to get sponsorship. I don't know if it was because of COVID and people weren't quite back. We were still feeling our way, getting back live and everything like that. But hopefully this year we will, be back full and live and be able to get some more sponsors to cover it, because obviously the big expense on that is the entertainment, and it's a big ticket item between the talent, the stage, and the sound system and stuff like that. Is really the big ticket item. And then above and beyond that, the next big item is the tents, tables, and chairs. So with that being said, anything that the two of you can do and kind of get sponsorship going greatly help.
So a question
We really
on,
need to do that.
so a question on that is, I think the sweet spot might be for businesses that are Walpole based. Is it $500? Is it $1,000? It's some sort of number there that's manageable and reasonable that we could be asking for. I mean, the big banks, you're asking for 5. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to try to go get another 10 or 15 at $1,000 or $500, what are we able to kind of give them?
We
As
can come
value.
up with any type of program. What we've kind of done in the past is the big money items were tent naming. And supposedly you would have one of the 4, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 big tents that are set up, and then there's a couple smaller ones, but you'd get naming rights on one of the tents. I mean, I don't care what how you want to run that and what you'd like to do. You can take that, Brian, and run with it whichever way you'd like. If you think there's another avenue to raise funds that's better to get people to participate more, then come up with it. I know in the past, on that, I think I gave you that pamphlet on the sponsorship.
I have
where
it.
it said you can get your name
The
on.
banners.
On the banners, on the stage, you can get your name on the T-shirts for the staff and stuff like that. You can get posters and put up lawn signs at the event. I mean, there's a lot of ways to advertise through that if they want, and we can figure out how to do that to make it more appetizing for people to sponsor.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about realtors and things like that, and they're always out trying to get their name on something. So they've got marketing budgets to spend.
Yeah.
You're going to have 4,000 people from Walpole at one key night. It would make sense to logically look at, well, what can I get for it? So this is
In the
helpful.
past, we've done all our signage with Signorama.
Yeah, I know
So
them.
if you want to go through them and come up with a scheme for them, you know, it might get you 10 lawn signs or 5 lawn signs throughout the site or something like that, and a name on a tent, or, you know, Mark always in the past would mention on stage as well, the sponsors and things like that, you know, to all the people that were there.
And is Mark still going after the ones he'd done in the past?
In terms of sponsors,
Yeah,
yeah,
thanks.
I kind of think we said to leave Beth, myself,
Yeah.
and Mark
So yeah,
with
this
the
is all,
ones that
we're
we've done in the
incremental.
past.
We're getting
Yeah.
all new stuff.
Yeah, go all new stuff. And Mark also dealt with, he dealt with Dedham Savings as well as Palumbo's, and I should kind of leave that there. They have a rapport, because Palumbo's does a lot with sponsoring the music.
Yep. All right.
But really, your help is really much appreciated, and to kind of make it worthwhile, because as I was telling Mark, it's a lot of work and to do the event and to get it up and running, and if we're really not gonna make any money, it's kind of senseless not to do it, you know?
Right.
I mean, the whole thing is to kind of make money for the downtown area and to do something with the town, so, you know, or, as I said in the past, maybe there's an organization that will come forward in the future that might want to take it over and start running it and take the event and use it as a fundraiser for themselves,
Right.
so.
Did the sponsors, didn't they have tables too, some of them? Like Middlesex Savings had their own.
Yes, they had
Like
booths, which was always, you know.
Chinese restaurant had a little thing
Yep.
too.
Yes, thank
So
you
if
for
you're gonna
bringing that
allow
up,
that.
Harry. Yeah, they did have booths, and obviously anyone's allowed to come set up and do booths there.
So who is a booth is a booth a tent? Is
Yeah.
it just
Yeah,
a
we
table?
usually allow them to bring a 10-by-10 pop-up, and, you know, they can sell their wares. I mean, obviously, we let the other restaurants that aren't centrally located downtown to come in and do that. But in the past, like you said, Middlesex Bank has done it a lot.
Key High did it. They
Kai High
also-
used to do it.
if you got a restaurant that wants to jump in, because the additional food helps.
Yeah.
And,
And it's
And they're,
good for the,
and they're selling it.
yes.
yeah, it was like $5
Yeah,
for
mo-
like 5
yeah,
advertisers.
Yeah, it was
nothing.
all reduced rate
Yeah.
and stuff like that, but yeah, they set up a
If
booth.
they
and
do
sell.
that, let me know, so
Well,
I
it's-
don't do a Asian
You don't
food
have
truck.
it right.
Like, I'm trying to not do
In
like,
fact, John, if you could, one of them, just to remind you of that we lost last year, which was always a good one, was the Lions. Whipple Lions would always come and cook. They'd either do burgers, or I think mostly they did dogs, I think, last couple of years there, but they had the same problem last year, that they couldn't get help. Was it last year? They couldn't get help. It was last year, it was on Norwood Day. And they had already committed to Norwood Day, I think, so they weren't able to do it
Norwood
for
Day.
us.
And
I think it
also
was
too-
Norwood Day.
One thing that worked, that kind of was easy or worked well, I thought, was the guy that just had the cart, the hot dog cart, like the Red Sox.
Yeah.
The line was a
Oh, the
lot
sausage
quicker.
cart.
Sausage
Yeah,
cart.
sausage guy.
Yeah.
So if you got
what it was.
more,
I'm going off the
sausage guy.
list that Pat gave me.
And he was a good vendor
Is
too.
the sausage guy on that list?
I'll have to double check.
I didn't think I saw him on there.
And
they're
he was
fast.
totally amazed with the event, and he loved it. He even said, "I want to do this event next year as well." He was one of the guys that just so happened his orders came in, and he had a lot of food in the truck, and he was probably like the last one to leave, and he kept sausages and dogs going throughout most of the night.
Which is a
He's-
great late night.
It's a great late night thing for.
and he's
yeah.
quick too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
there wasn't a
good.
long line there.
Yeah.
I can also ask the Masons if we wanted to put up our tent and
Mm-hmm.
do something as well.
In terms of serving food, or
Maybe, I
just
mean,
putting
I'll
literature out?
ask,
Okay.
you
no
know, because
problem
we
with that.
can, but that road isn't blocked, I don't think, right in front of your office, they don't block that,
It's
off.
one way.
Right.
We do, traffic goes from the center to the train station, but doesn't, train station gets diverted down Elm in front of the church,
Right, because you see when we
or
put the,
down Front Street.
you see when we put the Mason tent right in front of you, on the green grass right in front of Chill?
Oh, between my office and Chill?
Yeah.
Or did you, there was a tent there last year.
No,
Yeah.
not for that, not that, it was just, we do it every once in a while, like our open
Was
house
that
and
the Odd
stuff.
Fellows, or was that the Masons?
It's both.
Okay.
Oddfellows own the building.
Yeah.
Freemasons are the
Yep.
group there.
I'm
So,
trying to find the NOAA day for 2022, the date to make sure it's, hopefully, well, it doesn't really matter now anyways, huh?
well, our big thing was, and I think we avoided it on the 16th, was we've always had trouble on holding the event on the same day that they do Country Fest. The police department stretched too thin, and they don't have the personnel that night to do it, but I don't, that's why we're on the month, or the third weekend that we're in right now, is because of that, because we actually had it a little bit earlier, closer to Labor Day, but we had to push it back because of that. So, I don't know if, Beth said she'd be willing to meet Thursday at 11 o'clock. I don't know if you guys want to meet again on Thursday at 11 o'clock at my office. You're welcome.
This
welcome
week or
to.
next week?
This week.
I can't do this week. I
Okay.
can definitely- I
You
can
can do
do
next week?
Friday. I could, yeah. Or next week, I'm pretty open. I do have a.
I wasn't
commitment
there
Thursday.
last time.
Yo, do you want to meet with us?
I can't. Thursday, we're doing the flowers.
How about a week from Thursday? Or what about next week available?
I'm fairly open next week.
How about you, John?
I'm fairly
Right.
open too. Thursday, I.
26th, yeah.
I
What's
leave
that, Thursday
around-
the
If
26th?
we can do in the morning, because the afternoon, I'm leaving for the weekend.
How about if we do Thursday the 26th at 11 o'clock?
Perfect.
Fine.
What's
No,
the
no,
address of your office at, Janelle?
7 West Street, 26 at 11 o'clock.
Donna, what's the date of the event again?
September 16th,
September 16th.
Friday evening, 5 to 11.
You're still officially a member of the chamber till June
Okay.
25th, so you can get my list up.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on it?
I think around this time last year, did we set up
My
a
boss is
department
selling
meeting
some
or a town staff meeting?
Yeah, we can. I mean,
that-
yeah, we can probably get in that
You're off doing
point.
something
You want
else.
to set something up in June?
I could set something
Tired.
in June. I know last
Oh,
year
you
when we
got
did it,
another
we
big
had
job.
COVID
me?
restrictions,
Yeah.
so it was more
Well,
kind of tentative.
Why don't we
She's
set it up
retired.
why don't we do the first week of June after this week of
First
this
week of
meeting?
June. Okay.
So if you want to set something up with
Try
the
to set
staff,
something.
just to open it up and just to get everybody in line.
All right. I'll look at dates and I'll get back to everyone in terms
Okay.
of when. Just do it quickly on Zoom.
Probably.
Same format as
uh,
last year.
Yeah, if, it seems like Beth's always, can't meet, and myself probably till after 10:30 or 11. So
Okay.
if we want to hold it at 11 o'clock,
11.
midweek, mid-morning would probably work some way, if the staff can as well. So we'll get another subcommittee member, get going, and then just kind of get hitting the bricks on everything and getting going. I've already got the tents and the tables and chairs reserved. We'll talk with Mark about the entertainment. I'm sure he's been working on it already. And we just gotta get those vendors lined up and get them.
I already
in
have a couple
line.
confirmed. I already have, confirmed already is the Hawaiian Ice.
Okay,
Guy, he was there last year. The trolley dogs,
good.
they were there last
Yeah.
year. Is that the sausage guy, the trolley
No,
dogs?
no,
Different, yeah.
that's a different,
Separate,
yeah,
okay.
different guy, but
I think
he
they
really
canceled
does hot
last year.
dogs, but
Yeah.
the sausage guy's kind of, he does hot dogs as well, but he was mostly
Right,
doing.
and then I
something.
got Republic Barbecue, RIB Republic Barbecue.
Nice.
They
Oh,
were
good.
good. They were awesome. I ate there for last. It was fantastic. And it had a sausage though.
You know what somebody told me to check in is the guy down in the flats in South Norwood, the lobster
The
something or
lobster guy?
other, that
Yeah.
he meets, he's there every Saturday or
I'm
something
gonna
up at
do.
Palumbo's.
I'm gonna do Captain Martin first.
Right.
And if they don't, I don't want to do two seafoods again. Because everyone asks.
But if I'm
And
not mistaken, the guy down in South Norwood that does the seafood also does the badass burgers.
Oh, okay.
I think they both work out of the same area. It might be different companies, but they both, I see their trucks both parked down there in the flats.
I'll ask.
And be good to get a burger truck in there.
That'd be nice. I agree.
So that's kind of what we're gonna do for the next steps. Any other questions or anything? You know what we could do, which would work, Patrick, is, if you wanna be like the liaison between the Board of Health.
Yeah.
And just get a packet together that will go out to the truck vendors, in terms of, inspections, the requirements, what they gotta do. You know, I know there's still some gray area between the vendors, the truck vendors who feel they don't need to be inspected because they're licensed by the state and the town and whatever and things like that. I don't know if it's possible. to get
Some of the
town.
vendors did ask me, is there any packet and is there a fee?
There has been a fee. Early on in the years, the town was paying for it, and now it's kind of come back to, I think we're paying the fee in-house out of the event.
Okay.
So it'll go through through Main Street Live. We'll-
Right.
we'll be
I
paying
did
the
tell
fee.
the vendors already that there was a small fee they have to pay.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was
The,
paid by
the
that.
fee is more or less just an inspection fee
Yeah.
because the Board of Health's requiring an
Okay,
inspection.
I'll let them know.
And, the last bunch of years, and I don't know if it's gone up, it's always been $75
Okay.
for all the years we've held it. I don't know if it's gone up.
It's similar to that, I think
Yeah.
around 100 or less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that fee has been holding true as for both the trucks as well if somebody serves food at a booth.
Okay,
Okay?
Yep.
Anything else on Main Street Live?
that's it.
Okay? Next item is zoning bylaws.
Yeah, so I know we brought this up at the last meeting, we were hybrid. I kind of want to bring it up more. Let's start as just a discussion item and kind of pick your brains, both, you know, as EDC members and members of the community. And, you know, myself and the building commissioner have just been kind of going through zoning bylaws, both, you know, elements in terms of, hey, what can we do for recoding, but also what are areas for improvement, or where are we kind of lacking? And, you know, a few of the concepts that, especially as it relates to this group, is you know, looking at our current dimension of our table of use regulations, dimensional regulations, where are we possibly overly restrictive in terms of uses that may require special permits, where in other communities, the use would be more applicable as being not a by right use. Beyond that, kind of thinking of down the line, we want to try to expand uses along the highway business district. I think that's one area that, you know, kind of our neighboring communities like Norwood and Foxborough have been able to kind of see growth on, and
When you mean expand those, do you mean by right as opposed to going through special permit process?
it would depend.
Because I don't think that we're missing anything on highway business.
No.
It's just a process you gotta go through.
Yeah, so there,
Right.
it's both. So I mean, one of them in particular that I'm just thinking down the line is, you know, bioscience research and development. I know we call out laboratory uses in one location, but it's something that to consider as more and more of these companies kind of leave.
And the setback, the front setback is extremely high for highway business.
And that's good information for me to hear. I've heard that before, and that's something that
It's 50 feet, which I've never seen that on any-
Elsewhere.
for
And
a front.
it's especially with, not as, well, the setbacks even for structure, but as well for parking.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's, you know, a hard thing to do with developing
It's a lot of wasted
space.
use, and you need a lot more land to do what you have to do,
front setback.
front setback.
Would this include height? Cause I know there's discussions over the years of, you know, why are we restricting heights on Route 1 when,
That's also included. I mean, that's something that
I agree with you.
yeah.
So take a look.
I
at it.
kinda thought that didn't they raise the heights up to the maximum height when they were building down back here?
They
and It was
did.
kinda choked off at that because that's what the fire apparatus could handle.
Yeah, so down in the central business
The
district.
largest ladder would only go 6 stories or whatever.
Yeah, we cap it. I think I believe it's 52 feet in height, but then you have what's called like it's for every foot off the
Setback.
setback, you can go a foot higher.
45 feet highway business.
Yeah, so 45, but not more than 4 stories. So is that something to obviously look into? It sounds
Yeah.
like comparatively.
I know that one of their issues was that on a lot of hotels, they need that 5th floor to make it economically feasible.
Yeah.
That was an issue last time that came up. And I think that going to 52 feet with 5 stories would be just a better option.
Yeah.
And again, why, not that, what is the rationale for stopping at 5 stories? Is there, we don't want 100 stories, right? We know that. But I'm
No.
just curious what we think, 5, 6, or is there a reason?
I know the argument that was in downtown when they did raise
No,
it
for
the
highway
last
business.
time. Well, just, I don't think they differentiate between that because the fire apparatus couldn't handle it, and I don't think I get your point about the highway difference should be different. I mean, is different when it really should be all the same. I agree with that, because fire truck or whatever is restricted down here, it's gonna be restricted up there.
Yeah.
The same situation arises, but,
I believe building code changes when you go over a certain threshold as well,
Yeah.
where it makes it kind of, now you're dealing with high rises where
But that'd be on the developer, not,
it would be, yeah, but then obviously it comes up to us in terms of enforcing that, and then as Donnell said too, I mean, emergency services, if you don't
Makes
have the
sense. Okay.
capacity. But I mean, like, there are, taking a better look, and this is something I just, kind of want to hear your
Yeah.
opinion. Look at other communities, see where they kind of, where they put that, and kind of I can gauge that off of, all right.
I was
if
looking at
the
Foxborough
average
and
is around
Norwood,
six,
the hotels are clearly
Yeah.
more than 4 or 5 stories, they're
Yes.
7, 8 stories. Makes sense, a hotel should have
Yeah.
that. I mean, now, I understand the fire apparatus only reaches a certain height, but, you 100-story buildings that a fire apparatus can't reach. I don't know if we should use the fire apparatus's height as a limiting factor on stories.
It's true.
So,
Yeah.
and maybe hotels do have a scale where they need a certain amount of stories above the ground floor.
Mm.
And I know that one in Walpole, that was the issue there, but I don't know what makes sense. Do they need 5 stories? Do they need 6 stories? What does make sense for them to encourage them to come?
I think I recall it was 5.
5? Okay,
Yeah, when they were at 4, and they wanted the 5th floor.
that makes sense.
you're talking about by Applebee's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I recall. And then the other issue there was the water, because the water's kind of in Sharon, and
Oh,
so there was a question there.
Yeah, it's all good stuff. I've heard the same thing about the front setback for that, so that's also, we can take a better look at that and see where they're at.
yeah. It just takes an acre lot, and you really only have a half acre when you're done with it because
Yeah.
of parking, and then you hit the park, so you need a very large lot to make it developable.
Another concept that I was discussing is, looking at residential parking requirements within the central business district and the business district. But specifically the central business district. And what I'm getting at is, right now currently we have an exemption for parking for commercial uses within the central business district. However, our existing residential parking requirement is still in play, which is basically 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit. And that's,
I agree with that, Patrick, because on something downtown here, I can build a 5-story commercial building from lot line to lot line to lot line, have
And
no
not have
parking
parking.
requirements, and have 400 people in the building.
Yeah.
But if I put residential use in it, even if I had 20 people, you gotta do off-street parking and, but yet, it's no different than if you had a commercial use in there in terms of,
Office space or.
well, yeah, or anything like that, in terms of traffic flow or amount of people are gonna be in the town or parking or utilizing the central parking and, or
Yeah.
the downtown public parking, I guess to say.
space is already limited, and I think one of the reasons I looked at this is just the parking analysis that was already done for Union West and Liberty Station. I think they're both at like 1.2 or 1.3 parking spaces per unit. So we've already done a reduction that had to be, I think that was a variance for that reduction in parking for those 2 buildings already down in the downtown. So for
I
future
also-
growth, does that make sense to kind of counteract that instead of having to come back and have a developer give you a proposal that requests a reduction? We possibly look at a solution that's beneficial to both sides.
I think it should be looked at. I know in the past, we
Yeah.
always talked about the 2 families on East Street,
Mhm.
down in there where they are small lots.
Yeah.
And if they're two families, the requirement of 4 parking spaces, and they're probably having 2 different or double wide driveways, taking up a lot of the space that are developable space, which is probably why we have those buildings there now and they've never been redeveloped because of something like that. Just doesn't make sense to redevelop them if you have to do all that parking there.
Okay.
So
What about-
it's something that should be looked
Didn't we
at.
talk about, I thought you brought up Danell, or I forget who it was. If, say we suggest making a parking requirement go down to 1 space per unit, just to make easy numbers.
Yep.
And if a tenant needs an additional space, they could apply for a permit to park overnight in the town lot between the hours of 5 and 8. Was that brought up by you, Danell, or someone
No,
else?
I've never heard that
was,
one yet.
Last summer
Yeah.
meeting or whatever. I
Someone
remember
brought
I
it
was-
up.
Well, I was there,
Okay.
right? Maybe
Yeah.
it was Mark who brought it up.
Would that be, I know Noah does it, I know, with the town lots,
I mean, something completely out of my control, but it might be
Just something
I
if,
would-
if,
By the
just
select
therefore you don't get stuck where people are trying to squeeze, there's an option that if development does go up,
Mhm.
if they do it with one lot and there is 2 cars, at least the landlord could offer the tenant, hey, we could offer you on a second car this permit, and you pay a fee to the town, and you could use the
Or
lots
from
from
10 to 6.
5 PM to 6 AM or
Yeah.
whatever. You can't park during the day there. Just a thought,
I can look into
to have
that, yeah.
overflow.
On a separate note, yeah, that's kind
Yeah.
of an interesting topic.
Dallas, trying to give you credit.
Huh?
Trying to give you credit.
I didn't take it, I didn't do it.
Oh.
Yeah, so I mean, this is, I guess, more so informal. Like I said, we'll be working with the building commissioner, kind of writing something up and putting a few things together besides just commercial changes.
When are you looking to have comments in by?
So looking to probably, I think the warrant for the fall would close
August?
in August.
Yeah.
So ideally, we'd like to have something probably by mid-July. If in addition, to any sort of like changes that we need to make. If you want,
Of all the zoning, or just mostly of uses?
no, I mean, we could take a further look at all the
Like
zoning.
signage as well?
If signage
parking?
is something, that's something to take a look into. Yeah. Yeah, for this group, I kind of wanted to just focus on, I didn't want to just, hey, what do you guys think on
Yep.
everything? But I'll certainly take suggestions or take feedback on anything that you've noticed as the EDC members in terms of
Okay.
what's prohibiting economic growth in terms of our zoning.
And both, in mainly focusing on the CBD, the Central Business District, as well as the highway business?
Yeah, essentially,
Yeah.
just and even limited manufacturing and industrial uses as well. One topic that, and I wouldn't want to say this to say I'm advocating for this at all or anything, but just a discussion I had in house. Just obviously the town passed a restriction on any sort of cultivation of like marijuana or anything like that, and it's reduced just to medical. I noticed Foxborough recently took a position where they're re-looking at grow facilities or growing or cultivation facilities. I don't know if that's the same. There's any interest in that. That's just very much off the cuff, just kind of bringing this
Yeah,
up
well, there's
now.
4 groups, there's cultivation,
Yeah.
testing, delivery, and retail sales.
Yeah, and clearly the town obviously took the position initially, as every town did, where you had to basically zone for medical, and then you can make your own decision on any sort of recreational. And I think every town was, not every town, but most were, well, I'm gonna do what I have to legally do, but I'm not gonna have this use.
They were poisoning themselves.
Yeah, but that was 5 years ago, when that change happened, and things have progressed since then. Just kind of a food for thought. It's just a planning topic that came up recently about a few towns re-looking at that bylaw.
And I assume that this is being done through the planning board, or is it through the building inspector?
No, well, I mean, all zoning would have to go through the
Yeah,
planning board for.
But the planning board's, looking for input for it now,
No,
Or is it
this,
kind
right
of
now, this is just
with the building
in-house
inspector?
with me and the building commissioner, just looking at the zoning
With ideas, okay.
with ideas.
The next thing is marijuana bars.
Really? I
Yeah.
haven't heard that yet.
Oh, yeah. That's gonna start sprinkling in through Massachusetts soon.
Like in Amsterdam?
Yeah, they're already doing it in, I wanna say New Hampshire.
Really?
No, not New Hampshire. Maine,
Do they
I
also
think.
sell alcohol, or is it strictly just marijuana bar?
I haven't been there,
Or like a cigar shop?
but I think it's more just like a cigar /
Okay.
marijuana
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably get drinks though, I mean, not alcohol. You definitely get,
You'd have to
you're
have a
getting
liquor
candy,
license.
you're definitely eating candy and muffins.
Right.
And I only bring that up just because it came up in a recent, just regional discussion of other towns were kind of like, hey, a couple
You-
years have passed. and
You even drive by the Sharon dispensary and you could smell it.
Going by there?
Huh?
I haven't.
I mean, on the highway.
Yeah.
I
What?
can smell it, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever, if,
I drive by just almost every
I haven't
day.
noticed.
I can smell it. I don't know if they're all burning in the parking lot as soon as they get it, but
Well,
it stinks.
There's the retail store, and then there's the growing.
Yeah, I never smelled it, I'm next
The
door.
growing part is probably,
Do you car wash?
Yeah, I drive by it every, I don't,
Yeah.
never
Yeah,
smell
the
it.
one down, that's more further down, it's the Zen Leaf.
Zen Leaf, yeah.
Sharon. But you wouldn't smell it from your place.
No, I'm saying driving by
It's
though.
kind of, Donnell brought up the good point. It's not all or nothing. I think sometimes if you look at one, you had to zone for medical,
Right.
but if you opened up strictly for laboratory or warehouse facility,
Manufacturing, yeah.
manufacturing.
You gotta do the
facility,
recreation if you're gonna make money in the taxes. Cause I don't think the medical ones actually pay much on taxes.
yes or no,
But I know the recreational, the taxes are exorbitant,
yeah.
not by
Is there-
personal.
Is there
No.
is there a city tax as well as a state tax on it?
I'm not sure, but I know it's a lot.
And again, yeah, just why bring it up too, because it is one of those things that I think after a couple of years, people have seen how
The
they
world
worked.
didn't come to an end, right?
And what about like zoning up in, you know, the industrial center, where Goldie's is, but across the street?
Yeah.
All that open stuff, and then you've got the solar farm up there.
Mm-hmm.
With those like warehouse type of buildings, can people look to put like I don't know, I'm trying to think of like a burger barn or something, you know? I mean, something that serves food and has entertainment up there. And I was just thinking of it because there's nothing up there residentially, so nobody would have any noise complaints. It's out of the way. I remember in Dedham, and not that this is happening, but in Dedham way back when they actually, I mean, every town I think actually have a spot for, you know, X-rated
For
stuff
adult
like that.
entertainment.
Right, and like I know in Dedham it was way over on the High Park Reedville line.
They always put it in the
Yeah.
Stop
industrial.
and shut.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
the industrial areas.
Does Walpole actually have that? And is
They
that
do, in
probably
the
where it is?
industrial.
Yeah, so we have
Industrial.
industrial.
Up there where I was thinking? On one
Yeah,
end?
wherever the industrial zone is, I'm not sure.
Where is the industrial zone?
I don't have a zoning map here. It's probably scattered.
Well, I'm
throughout.
not sure if that's LM up there or industrial up off of Route 1A.
Oh, cool.
It could be either or. But retail's allowed by right in both of those, the LM and in the industrial. And I believe restaurant falls under retail, doesn't it?
Yes. However,
I'm trying to find. I know drive-throughs were strict for at one point. For
yeah,
no
so
reason at
drive-throughs
all.
are another thing too that are restricted.
And that's
by a
something
special
I don't
permit.
understand. That's what society is shifting towards. Did I miss drive-through in here?
No, so that's if you go to section, so it'll be under 4 business, and then it's letter Q, and then II, which is drive-in or stand-in for
Ah, I
dispensary of
see it.
foods, beverages, goods from inside of the building, person standing outside or seated. So that is currently a special
So,
permit.
so why is it a special permit versus just by right if you meet these requirements?
Well, that's the thing to look
Drive,
into.
I mean, drive-through, you need a breakaway lane, so many feet.
Mhm.
I don't understand why the special permit, because a drive-through is every restaurant wants that. The drugstores want it. Is there a reason?
You're saying it should be allowed by right if it meets a certain criteria?
Yeah, if you get the certain amount of width and you have the breakaway lane for fire trucks and everything else, why does it have to go to a special permit?
That's a good
Good
point.
thing to bring up.
And that's a good point to bring up, and something that you could, like you said, you can deregulate it, but then you can also add restrictions.
Yeah, it's
that-
deregulated. Here's the rules played by. You need
Exactly.
15 feet, you need a breakaway lane, and you need this much of stacking room, you know. Whatever the stacking room consists of. I'm guessing 4 or 5 cars, 15 feet per car.
Yep. Good thing to look into. So we don't have to go overly in depth right now.
Yeah.
No, this is
So
just kind of
why don't
presenting
we all
to you.
review it and let's put it on the agenda for the next meeting and look forward to comments from the board?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, item number 3, department updates.
All right, so a couple things that I had emailed out to you all were so some of my ARPA funding proposals, and these are mostly in draft form that I'm kind of putting forward to town administration, to put forward to the select board. I'd like to kind of obviously address a few of them with you as well. In particular, one concept that I'm kind of looking into doing is a possible grant program, utilizing ARPA funds to both either kind of 2 options. We want to look at it in terms of overall small business relief, or do we want to focus in on businesses impacted from the Route 1A construction? That use obviously kind of remains up to the select board and how they want to disperse and utilize these funds, but it was a concept that, you know, Brian brought that up to me in
Yeah.
terms of, I think, hearing some feedback of businesses that were hurting, and then a discussion I had with the town administration about obviously comments that they had received as well. I do have a little experience in terms of running an in-house grant program from Norwood. We were able to do a small business relief grant due to COVID back in 2020 when I was there. So it's a great concept if you can do it, and I think it's one project that would certainly be appreciated and be a great use of ARPA funding. Obviously the funding is meant for relief and recovery, and I think putting that to our small businesses is right on par with the purpose of that funding. So, if anyone has any questions
Yeah,
on that.
after I looked at this, Patrick, you were kind of looking for a direction for us to go in. And I was kind of figuring that, well, if we just focused on downtown, other businesses are gonna be mad about it. And if we just do it town-wide, maybe the people that are in the business being impacted need more. Is there a way to do a hybrid, or is it, or can we do both?
That's a good question.
Either which way, because I don't want to just go and get a grant and just leave it for the people down on Main Street that they need it, and there might be other people, elsewhere that need it, or if we can get funds for that, but it's kind of not fair because you're up on Route 1 that you can't get funds that people are getting down on Route 1A. So I didn't know if you could proceed both, and maybe just have one for Route 1A and one for Route 1 or something like that, or have a hybrid where, we were only able to get one grant and it was for 200,000, but 60% of it's going to Route 1A and 40% to Route 1, or however,
No, that's a great point. And
according
it's-
to the amount of people that apply, maybe that's the way to justify it.
Or
If
how
you
it
have
applies.
5 people apply on Route 1 and only 3 apply down there, then, do it in that percentage-wise or whatever. But the first thing that came to my mind is, why are we limiting it, or why is it either or,
No, that's a good point. I think that's possibly why it's mostly in draft form right now, is to kind of figure out what's the best option to go forward. And obviously, it remains with the select board in terms of whether and how they view it, and their concerns and questions as well. But taking your questions and concerns would obviously help me probably come up with a better solution. So I think, like I said, if able to do a hybrid option, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Or even if it's, both options, but maybe I utilize less funding and.
Is there any state regulation that if you apply for this one, you can't apply for that one?
No, so it'd be mostly kind of like regulated in-house, and how we set it up.
Okay.
A few things that just go along when you do something like this is obviously utilizing state distributed funding for an in-house grant program. You want to make sure that obviously it's done correctly, and that your requirements are, that you can basically, you can hold something to an applicant in terms of how they apply. So obviously they need to meet the requirements, need to show justification for meeting the requirements in order to be eligible to receive that funding. And then obviously be able to kind of explain that to auditors. And so that's the one thing that, however we do it, we want to make sure we have a threshold in place, not just, you're impacted, apply for it, but have you shown loss of gross receipts? What is your average annual income? Do we
Right.
want to limit it in terms of size and capacity of, as a small business only, in terms of having a brick and mortar location within Walpole? That's one of the things that I think you want to make sure that's, you look into.
You gotta go through, and I'm sitting here thinking of this now, as I was talking earlier, I think saying I'm comparing Route 1A project down there to that, and then we're forgetting all about the center of town,
Yeah, no,
And if you can't get there, you can't. So I like the idea of, assistance as required.
Yeah.
You put in your request, once again, gross receipts or whatever.
Yep.
I like the idea of, say, limiting it to a point, like, should Stop and Shop be able to apply? My take would be, they would go down in the totem pole, down in the listening pole, so, maybe there is a requirement around
I
the
think
size of
And I
the
think that'd be the
business.
same way
multiple-
with
you have
retail
multiple
versus
locations.
service,
Right.
Well, it says on here, which was suggestion, 1 to 35 employees.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah.
1.5 million in gross receipts. Depends on the business. If you're a gas station, you can make more money and have 10 million in gross receipts.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're if you're a restaurant, you could have 1.5 million as a deli, and you can make a lot of money. So, the 1.5 million annual receipts is very arbitrary.
Okay.
Commercial establishment, I totally agree with in Walpole, and of course, no tax liens, judgments, things like that.
Yeah, and additionally, like when, you know, I had done this in the past, it was, you know, we want to make sure, obviously, it didn't conflict with, relief funding received elsewhere. So if someone had obviously received a, like an SBA grant or had received separate micro enterprise grant, you wanted to make sure the funding was going.
And PPP.
Yeah, PPP would be an example of an
I think
SBA
you're gonna eliminate
a lot of
a
people.
lot of businesses.
So you probably want to avoid that.
If you, because
Yep.
if
That
they
would
applied and
spend.
received one grant, it means they probably justified it through, because all these different grants
Okay.
had certain metrics you had to
Right.
meet to get the grant. You can't just go apply, you just show a loss of income or a loss of EBITDA or something.
Okay.
So if you got another grant, I don't know a small business in my network that didn't apply for at least one.
Okay.
We have an elapsed time between
Correct.
the
Correct.
PPP side, so I
You were
think
getting them
it's,
in 20, and you were getting another one in 21.
Exactly.
right.
So here we are in 22.
But you were to show a loss
Yeah.
and to get that.
Well, that or
I
you
haven't
had,
checked.
you didn't, it wasn't necessarily a loss.
Second
Sometimes,
PPP, you had to prove that your net income was down at least 25%.
I'm not sure they ended up holding it to that, because my mother-in-law's
Really?
situation, it was more about showing she had hired more staff that allowed her to qualify.
Oh, if you, okay,
Kept
there
staff
was,
on.
yeah, I see what you're saying. No,
Yeah.
hired more staff. Then if
Hire
you, if you
more
hired
staff.
more staff than before the pandemic, there was bonuses for that.
Yeah.
But
But that's, yeah, but that's a good point. I mean, time has passed. Obviously, most people have
Yeah, that's all gone.
probably looked into some sort of federal grant program or state grant program, so it may
Are there
not be
programs
applicable.
now businesses are applying for, or is all that stuff?
as far
kinda-
as I know,
You- I
from
mean-
my personal side, there's very few, but they're very narrowly tailored now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like minority programs, and it's to a point where I think they have funding left, but they're trying to tailor it, and they can't get the money out because they're so narrowly tailored.
Yeah, and there's a lot of crowdfunding programs that are still available, but I know a lot of places are kind of tapped out with doing. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of crowdfunding,
Yeah.
but it's basically, essentially you kind of are asking for donations in order to meet a certain threshold, and then maybe get a match. So it's like, hey, I need $50,000 in order to get a match of $50,000, and I'm going to try to do some sort of program where people will donate to that.
I would focus on 1A,
Focus on one
and
end.
those people are the ones that are hurting because of the other reason. You know, I mean, what business on Route 1 do we know of that's hurting right now? Can you name one?
Yeah.
I don't know, I would have to look at everyone's P and L to answer that question. But I think one A
Majority
is the
no.
majority. I
Right,
agree.
and
now
one
it's
A is
1A.
hurting for the other reasons, and we should focus on them, I think.
Okay.
Okay, economic development, Bill?
So this is something that, it's still in the works, so the Baker Fleet Administration, I think they put forward a bill, it's called the Forward, Forward, bill. It's basically an economic development, bill, I think it's $3.5 million. It has to go to House and Senate and all that good stuff, and what it could mean for Walpole as well as every community is that a certain amount of funds, I think no less than $250,000 per community would be going towards each community that would, could be for downtown economic development related projects. And so, I mean, it's kind of a unique thing. I just kind of wanted to bring that up to you because it kind of came up on the news recently, and for Walpole, I mean, it could possibly see even more than that would go solely towards economic development related projects within the downtown or within a municipal downtown center.
So it's only like 10 towns would be awarded 250 each?
No,
Out of the
every town.
3.5?
Wow.
Every town's gonna get 250.
If they
That's
apply.
what, that's what
You
was
said it was
applied.
3.5 million.
No, 3.5 billion.
Billion. Got
Billion.
it.
Oh, yeah.
With a
Yeah.
B.
Got it.
We think of million as a lot. The
it's
government
like-
thinks
I
of,
know,
I know, when I
thinks
heard,
in the
of
trillions.
B's, and the federal
So-
thinks of T's.
This is something that I wish I had a little bit more information on to give you, but basically it's still in the works. It's kind of an interesting interesting bill. Obviously, we've seen a lot of bailout bills that come up with, you know, ARPA being available right now, and CARES Act that was recently that was not too long ago. So I'll keep you updated on this, and hopefully by our next meeting, maybe there's a little more information from the state in terms of in terms of where that is in the house, but it's it could be possibly on the way.
Okay.
Master plan updates.
How about ongoing development first?
Oh, ongoing development?
Yep. Anything brewing out there?
So, the 173 High Plains Street and Old Clock Tower are mixed-use developments. Those are still ongoing between planning and zoning. Close. We recently got a request from the Dunkin' Donuts on the corner of Highway, Union Street and Route 1. Looks like they're going to do a redevelopment of that site, possibly doing a 2-lane drive-through. So they're going to need a special permit for a drive-through modification.
For the second one.
So that's something that's probably going to be in the works, probably for June. Also, I've been to discussion recently with the new owners of the Sunbird lot. Looks like the new owners are looking into kind of either rehabbing that site. The company that bought it, they buy marginal commercial properties and essentially fix them up, whether it's redoing the parking, residing the buildings, fixing the landscaping, all that good stuff. So they're going to need to probably coming before the zoning board at least for a special permit, because they're going to do work within our floodplain overlay district. So
What property is that?
Where's that?
so that's
Union
the lot.
Street,
Union
Sunbird.
Street. So the old Sunbird lot is what I would call it, but it's the property off of Union Street.
Behind
behind the
Dunkin'
Dunkin'
Donuts.
Donuts.
Oh, the blue warehouse, the big.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that's a project that's probably in the
Good.
coming up as well. So obviously that corner is going to be seeing
It's
a
a
lot
big
of
parcel.
improvements. And kind of interesting, it kind of was coincided. We got a grant last year to do the sidewalk on Union Street. So that whole area of Union Street will hopefully see some nice
Make
improvements.
sure they dig if they break the street before you guys do the sidewalks.
Oh yeah, don't want to make that mistake. Other than that, it's mostly some smaller developments. So I'm gonna keep you updated as some bigger projects kind of come forward.
Thank you.
How is the ice cream place coming?
I think last
That's
I
not
checked,
ice
they're still
cream,
doing construction.
It's called
You're right.
yogurt, Reader's Yogurt.
It was where Westbury Farms was.
Yeah.
right?
So in that location, there's supposed to
I
be
thought I heard bagels.
yeah bagels and ice cream.
That's two separate. One
separate
is gonna
ones.
be Rita's cakes and yogurts or something.
No,
or
ice-
frozen
Italian
sherbet.
ice.
Italian ice.
Yep.
And then the one that's behind you on Conrad's Connected is gonna be the bagel. But on that note, Goldman is hiking rents on a lot of people, I'm seeing. So that's another issue to address.
Huh.
So landlords are really just starting to up the prices because of taxes and then utility costs and water and sewer and all that stuff. So that's something that the small business owners are getting hit with. But it'd be good to have that ice cream store open for the Main Street Live
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
get people, get some attraction down
Gonna
that
get a
way.
booth up there.
Yeah, I'll talk to the building. So the building commission has been more involved with that because they've just been going through the regular permitting side, and I know that they're making progress indoors. I'll check in for sure to see where they're at in the process.
How about update on master plan?
Master plan, I believe a few weeks ago now, we conducted our second open public forum, or our second community forum. The attendance, although it was a little lower than we had liked, I think we got some pretty good feedback from that. We're looking to hopefully do a follow-up survey that will be coming out. So I know there's a few events coming up in June in particular that would be a great opportunity for some advertisement for the master plan. And so in just discussions today with the consultant, Judy Barrett, I know they're working on getting that survey together for to hopefully discuss at the steering committee's next meeting. We'll spend this summer really trying to fine tune the inventory data that they collected, get information out on the survey, and then we're not really in the home stretch yet. We're still hopefully by late summer, early fall, we'll be getting into more of the meat of the project, which is those action items and those recommendations for improvement. So it's making good progress. I mean, it's a big ask for any town to do a master plan. There's a lot of pieces that go into it. So doing pretty good so far.
Did they ever get straightened out with the EDC number and all the large thing?
Not that I have
Did the
heard.
planning board do anything on it? No?
No,
Okay.
I haven't heard anything.
Okay, so I guess we'll take up all meetings at the next meeting when we have a quorum, all the minutes, and go from there. Anybody have anything else?
You can't even do a motion to.
No, can't even do it.
Free form discussion.
Do you think Pat, do you ever think